Welcome to the daily agenda. 0600 hours. 4th of September 2015. The meeting with the Thorny Rose at a tube station in West London. Stood outside on the green. Well, what an interesting experience that was. She passed a tiny piece of paper to me, rolled like a matchstick. Showing off her espionage skills, no doubt, I thought. And she said, read it. I thought, this is going to be an interesting read, isn't it? On a tiny piece of parchment. And so I unfurled this little missive, secret missive, and yes, in tiny handwriting, which she'd obviously perfected during the Soviet Union and the smuggling routes between Lithuania and Russia proper. She basically outlined a proposal to smuggle classified HM government documents into the Russian Federation, all the way to Moscow. And I was using my best acting skills. I appeared to be unperturbed, but in truth, inside I was actually very concerned. And I thought, oh, the Thorny Rose has now shown her true face, has she not? And my immediate thought was, is this Thorny Rose working for Russian intelligence, or is she working for British intelligence? Is this an entrapment operation? Has this money been provided by British intelligence, masquerading as the humanitarian battalion? It's a good thing I hadn't told her I was about to go to Barcelona. I hadn't told anyone else, in truth. But I simply said to her, I'm perfectly sure I don't have any documents of that nature. And she said, but if you do get any documents of that nature, would you be prepared to give them to us, to send on that route? I said, I'm perfectly sure I will never have any documents of that nature, and I won't be giving you any documents of that nature. And that was the end of the matter. I got the piece of paper and burned it with my cigarette lighter. Yes, my goodness, honestly, it put a whole new sheen on things. And then she gave me a piece of paper about A5 size shape, and in which she'd drawn an angel on it, a guardian angel, as it were, and you know, a beautiful message praising me as their hero and wishing me luck in the battle ahead. And well, that was quite nice, but I was more concerned about the tiny little piece of parchment she'd just given me, which I had to incinerate, as it was truly incriminating evidence, the likes of which could have got me prosecuted for espionage. And I wasn't involved in espionage, was I? Certainly not my understanding of what I was doing anyway. But we left it at that. And I went back to Pimlico, not very amused at being dragged out there at that time of morning to be propositioned with absolute nonsense of that nature, quite frankly. The angel message was, or the tribute was quite nice, but that, you know, it wasn't exactly the icing on the cake as far as I was concerned. I was perturbed, actually, by the missive, the little scroll, you know, a matchstick size, which obviously they used to slip into their little hiding places during the smuggling days of the Soviet Union. And yes, that one did concern me quite a lot. Happily, I didn't fall into whatever trap it was, because had it been Russian intelligence, that would have been held against me forever. Compromat, blackmail to you and me. And had it been British intelligence, it would have been enough to arrest me on site for espionage. And I'd have been going nowhere other than probably 20 years in prison. Yes, she later denied any involvement with British intelligence, but not Russian intelligence, which was, I thought, quite damning. But, you know, just the fact that she denied any knowledge of British intelligence didn't mean a thing to me, because we actually caught the tube back together, and we left each other at the Lithuanian embassy, where apparently she had to sort out some passport issues, and I went off round the corner into Pimlico to get my kit ready and get ready for Victoria Coach Station. And that's exactly what I did. And it was a nervous couple of hours, in actual fact, making the final preparations, getting breakfast proper, and a coffee, and getting some last minute provisions for the long journey ahead. And because I was concerned that, I'm going to get a visit from Special Branch before I go. And yeah, man, honestly, I just knew the midnight messenger call was bad news, really bad news. I could feel it. Sixth sense and all that, you know, experience. And I just got on with it. Went to Victoria Coach Station, checked in, sent my baggage through, and went outside, had a couple of cigarettes, and waited for the call to board, and off we went to Dover. And we got to Dover easily enough, and then of course I was concerned that I might be stopped at passport control, and we all had to get off the megabus coach, and I gave her my passport, and she scanned it through the machine, looked at it for a few seconds, looked at the screen, looked at the passport, gave it back to me, and then off I went to the coach, which was getting ready to be loaded onto one of those giant trains to go through the Eurotunnel. And we got through the Eurotunnel easily enough. Didn't bother me in the slightest. Lots of people were panicking about going, on this tunnel under the sea. Well, you could always go on the ferry. There is an alternative service. But, I was only interested in getting to the other side of the channel. The other side of the drink, the pond, whatever you want to call it. And so we got there to Calais, and I remember coming out of Calais docks and the coach turning, climbing, and I looked back to see the white cliffs of Dover, and I thought, well, finally I've made it off Devil's Island. And I sat and glared at the scene behind me as England disappeared rapidly through the back window, and I thought, I wonder if I'll ever see that again. Intriguing. And but yes, that was my resounding thought. Now I'm off Devil's Island. Now the battle really begins. Now we're on, big time. There's no turning back. It's all the way, unless I get stopped at Paris, the next stop. And so we arrived at Paris. I won't bore you with the litany of details on the journey, because there's nothing much to say about that part of the journey anyway. There's much more to say about the last part of the journey. And we got to Paris and we changed at Port Malo. And there was a 3-hour turnaround, so I went and trotted off to get some pastries and some of these famous French pastries that they're always bragging about. That's the French like to do that, don't they? I don't think they're anywhere near as good as the French like to claim, in actual fact, but there you go. That's my opinion. And I got a coffee, which was okay. And I just looked around and thought, why is Paris so seemingly deserted? It felt like there was a massive funeral. It felt almost like the day Princess Diana was buried here in England, and I was puzzled by it. I couldn't work it out. There's only the area around Port Malo and the coffee bar, a very large coffee bar across the street, that was busy. Everywhere else seemed very sedate and morbid and morose. And you could feel the energy. It was bloody awful, quite frankly. I thought, I never expected Paris to be like this. But anyway, that's the way it was. And so, having a little trot around the Champs-Élysées, I made it back to Port Malo and went to the coffee shop to kill the last hour before the coach came to take us on the next leg of the journey from Paris down into the south of France. I think the next stop after that was Brive-la-Gaillarde at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then Toulouse at roughly 6 o'clock, and then on to Perpignan And I was looking forward to all of that. And yes, caught the coach in Paris. And when I finally got a Wi-Fi connection again, because obviously my SIM card wasn't working, and I wasn't switching it on anyway in case of tracking, I connected to the onboard Wi-Fi on the coach, activated the VPN to encrypt the connection, false location, and decided to search what was happening in Paris. And of course there was a massive riot in eastern Paris, the Islamists on the rampage again. In fact, it went on for 3 days. Absolutely, a number of police officers were stabbed and shot during this riot. It's the norm in these crazy situations where the globalists have forced the diversity delusion onto us and all the ensuing disaster that goes with it, such as these race riots or religious riots, race and religious riots. And so that was the reason why Paris was so morbid and morose. And of course it was getting dark, and I was sat midway on the top of the coach, and I just watched the scenery passing by, and as it got dark, you know, I had a little sleep, and you know, I was thinking about the road ahead, and I thought, well, we're making very good progress. Nothing's gone wrong, very good progress, there's no traffic problems, you know, this is fantastic. What's not to like? I mean, I was just hours away from Barcelona, and I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen there. That really was the big one. And but it was still hours away. It was still quite a long way away. And so I got a bit more sleep, and then eventually we went obviously into the mountains of the south of France. And we pulled in at a roadside service station with a cafe and coffee bar, and it's 400 hours. So we've now gone into the 5th of September 2015. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if I didn't, the episode tomorrow night would be so long, it'd probably run into about 2 to 2.5 hours. So I'm covering the first half of the 5th of September 2015 in tonight's episode, because it's darkness. It was dark, and essentially it was still the 4th of September to me, even though it wasn't. It felt like it, and it was all part of that one journey. And to me, the 5th of September didn't really begin until the next day, as it were, when I landed in Barcelona. But yes, we pulled in. And I thought, do I really need to get out and get anything to eat? I'm not hungry. I don't really want to drink a coffee, certainly not this time of morning. I'd like to try and get some sleep if possible. And most of the people got off the coach. And I thought, oh yeah, okay, sod it. I'll go and get a coffee, stretch my legs and have a couple of cigarettes. And we got an half an hour turnaround. And a new driver boarded the coach as well. And that was very interesting, as I'll explain in a minute. Very interesting. So I went into the coffee shop and bought a sandwich and some coffee, and went outside, quickly had a couple of cigs, and walked back to the coach. There's still about 10 minutes to go, and suddenly I looked out to the northwest, and the sky just seemed to go black. It was like a great big cloud of black gas sweeping across the sky. There wasn't, it was a vision of some description. It was horrific, quite frankly. And there I saw all the cities of Europe in flames, burning. All-out war between Ukraine and Russia, and the black gas, this poison, this great toxic gas sweeping across the whole of Europe from the northwest, which is from that position, that's Britain and North America, which is the cause of all of that trouble in Europe, is it not? The globalists, you know, you'll get there eventually, I'm sure you will. Northwest of Brive and Toulouse is Britain and North America. And it was breathtaking. It literally had me palpitating. And I thought to myself, is this what's coming? I didn't know what to do, how to make sense of it. It was actually very scary, one of the scariest things I'd ever seen in my life. And I thought, well, you know, now it really has begun. It really has begun, you know. But again, my mind was in a swirl, and I got back on the coach, climbed the steps, and quite a few people had alighted the coach at Brive and been collected in cars and taxis. And so I thought, oh right, well, I'll move further up near the stairwell, and I'll be able to, you know, got a much better view towards the front of the coach when it gets light, which would be in just you know, 2 to 3 hours, and also be able to hear what the driver was saying to control, because we had a new driver. And yes, Callum, the driver, my goodness, well, nice enough chap. And just before he pulled off, he was talking to control in Paris. And the control in Paris was reading to him the best route to take, traffic route that is, to Barcelona, and any expected problems ahead and what to avoid. And I thought, well, that's fair enough. And, you know, I was fairly bored, and then suddenly he said, the controller said, oh, and by the way, just to let you know, you've got a very important passenger on board, but not to worry, because everything is under control. And my heart just went bang, 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 bang. And I thought, and I actually looked around, thinking there might be some celebrity of some description on the coach. Seriously, that's how daft I was at that moment in time. It was 4:30 in the morning, and I was pretty tired. And I thought, important passenger on board, everything's under control. There's hardly anybody on this coach now. My goodness. And there was only one guy sat ahead of me, right on the front seat, and he was Spanish, heading for Barcelona, because I had a few words with him. And 2 or 3 other people, and 2 or 3 people downstairs. Most of the people had actually gone off at Paris and also en route. And I thought, wow, my goodness, a very important passenger on board. Who could that be? What exactly does that mean? And then I got this awful dread flood across me, and I thought, it's blown. This entire operation is blown. It's been blown from the outset. That stupid piece of paper done with the thorny rose was probably where it was blown. That was an entrapment operation. That's how I felt at the time. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Get off the coach now at Brive Le Galliard? I don't know anybody here. I've got nowhere to stay. It's 4:30 in the morning. Oh, well, we've come this far. Let's go the rest of the way. Let's see what's waiting. And so on we went. And my mind was ticking over, not only with just the black sky, the black gas vision, but also the, you know, the radio traffic from Paris to the coach, about the very important passenger on board, and everything was under control. And then as it got to just before 600 hours, we could see lights on the near horizon, probably about 10 miles away, and we were starting to descend and going down to a lower plateau, although it was still very dark. And I guessed that it was Toulouse. And it then took us quite a while to get into Toulouse. But as we entered Toulouse, it wasn't quite light, but you could see the first streaks of daylight beginning to shimmer. And we pulled into Toulouse coach station. And lo and behold, to the left, I saw a white van in the car park, and 3 French soldiers with FAMAS rifles climbed out the back of it and walked into the coach station. And I thought, there's no other coaches in this station. There's virtually no one here. We've got a reception committee from the French army. And then as we pulled in and the driver pulled to a stop, another 3 French soldiers got out of another Renault white van with his FAMAS assault rifles and walked up to the coach. There were 3 that side of the coach, 3 that side of the coach. And I thought, oh yeah, everything's under control all right, isn't it? The very important passenger on board is me. And then for the avoidance of doubt, everything became absolutely clear. Absolutely clear. And I thought, oh, well, this is it. Driver says we have 30 minutes 30 minutes. Well, the other passengers might have had 30 minutes, I thought, but I think this is where it ends for me. And, oh, well, sod it, let's go and get a coffee. Nowhere open at all, just a poxy vending machine, quite frankly, and the toilets. And it was a grubby place. Toulouse is a grubby city, quite frankly. And I got off the coach. I didn't make eye contact with the soldiers. They were stood probably 4 feet away from me. I just did a right loop. I never said anything. I didn't look at them, just carried on walking straight towards the toilet block, went into the toilet, did my ablutions, washed my face, bought a cup of coffee, went and stood. And you could smoke in the coach stations here. It's not like silly little Britain with its daft bloody anti-smoking rules and all the other anti-this and anti-that rules. That's what Britain's all about. It's the anti-this state, the anti-that state. And so yes, I was looking. The good thing about it being dark was it was still dark and it wasn't getting light rapidly, as that it cast a reflection of the coach and the French soldiers stood by the coach directly behind me onto the glass window I was stood looking at. I never turned around and looked at the coach once. I just stood and looked out the window, smoked a cigarette, finished my coffee, and then I could see we'd only got about 3 minutes to go before the coach was due to leave. And so I walked back to the coach and didn't make eye contact, didn't look at the ground either. You know, I perfected the art of not making eye contact with certain people in certain situations. And I thought, just before I got there, you know, this is probably where I get stopped. And they didn't stop me. I got back on the coach. I climbed up the stairwell, got into my seat, 4 seats back from the front seat, and the driver pulled off. And as we were reversing out of the station, I saw the 6 French soldiers strolling off quite casually back to the vans they got out of, and they got in the back, and then we pulled out of the station, and the next stop was Perpignan. And yeah, by that time I knew well and truly that you know, the Battle of Barcelona was imminent, and because I was getting very close to Catalonia. And you know, the incident at Brive the radio message, very important passenger on board, don't worry, everything's under control, the thorny rose in a crazy little piece of paper in West London, and all of these things combined. And then, you know, we're on the road to Perpignan, and daylight was breaking, and as we got towards Perpignan, or outside Perpignan, it was absolutely wonderful. Beautiful, crisp blue sky up in the mountains. It actually looked like Arizona to me. You know, cactus everywhere, orange russet material. You know, it just thought, wow, you know, I stood there and we had a 40-minute break there, in truth, which was great. Nothing happened there of any description, nothing untoward at all. And I was actually spent most of my time in a shop looking at smartphones, and thinking, should I do a smartphone buy now, because I'm not going to be using the UK one, the Samsung one that I had, or should I wait until I get to Barcelona? And in the end I thought, I'll wait till I get to Barcelona, because if they start getting difficult, we haven't got time, because I've got to board the coach. And so yes, that was a great experience. And I stood outside and just drank a bottle of water and had a cigarette and thought, what a wonderful place, absolutely great. It was by far the best part of the journey. I absolutely loved it. Perpignan, wonderful place, great, really, really, really excited me, very interesting. The air quality was absolutely magnificent. It was like being in an oxygen tent, truthfully, an oxygen tent. I loved it, and I thought, this is a place I could live quite easily, just never leave. You know, this is wonderful. And there are very few places on earth that actually feel that way, and that's one of them. And so yes, we pressed on, and as we got closer to the Catalan border, or border with Catalonia, the 2 French police vehicles pulled in on the left-hand side and flagged the driver over. And I thought, oh, right, okay, here we go. Because the French army don't have any powers of arrests. It will have to be the police, won't it? The polizei. And They pulled us over into a lay-by, boarded the coach, passport checks, everyone had their passport ready, and they said it in several languages, which was very impressive, I must admit. And the French officer came to me, asked for the passport, I gave him, says, thank you, monsieur, and not merci, monsieur, thank you, monsieur, and gave me back with a smile, and I thought, hey, what's not to like? Went to the back of the coach and arrested 4 illegal immigrants, took them off, and then they had to call for a van to come and collect them, so we were delayed. And I actually said to the driver, could I get off and smoke, because it's just boring waiting here. And he had to get consent from the police. So the officer who came on originally to check my passport said, hello sir, are you the man who wanted to smoke? And I said, yeah. He said, well, come with me, no problem. Spoke perfect English, really nice chap. And he said, you just have to sit there, you know, on the roadside and smoke. And that's what I did. And then the French police van came and boarded the 4 illegal immigrants. The driver said, back on the coach, and off we went. And I thought, wow, what an absolutely momentous 4 hours. And if it's going to continue like this, what nervous state am I going to be in? But that's the whole trick, isn't it? You know, to have nerves of steel. And it was a wonderful feeling as we actually crossed the border from France into Catalonia, and the environment changed within 2 miles. Then you knew you were in Catalonia, in northern Spain. And that's where tonight's episode ends, because I'd made it into Catalonia and Barcelona was just a short distance ahead. And if you think what's been related in tonight's episode is intriguing and tense, which it was in truth, just wait until tomorrow night's concluding episode, which will be really intense, I assure you. Yes, tomorrow night is truly the Battle of Barcelona.